turned up, as everyone had a few drinks, in a white suit, a high-necked jumper, looking cooler than anybody else and busting the moves on the dance floor. And Arjun Maini, he's my nomination for the next James Bond.
Not the, good shout. Not the dance, he was on the stage, wasn't it? Everybody was watching him dance. What a mover as well. Great to see Arjun back. Had his best season in the DTM last year, 7th overall. He's back with Team HRT. He's been with them now for, well, this is his 4th season with them. He had 3 third-place finishes last year, 1 at Zandvoort and a pair at Red Bull Ring, including a pole position that day. Here's another returnee, Max Powell, Powell Motorsport, the Independence champ, driving team combination. Max very heavily involved in running the car himself. So it's one of the, basically the smallest team out there on the grid, isn't it? They come back. We know Max is a great driver. He's been a race winner in the DTM for Grasser Racing a couple of years ago at a very wet Nürburgring from the middle of the grid. And this, again, would be classed as one of his home races because the team are based the east side of Germany. So this and the next round at the Lausitz Ring, places they'll be hoping to go well. So another Lamborghini on the grid. So in terms of the brands that we've got this year, we, as I said, have got more different brands in the DTM than we've had for, well, 30 years. So 1987 was the last time we had 9 different brands in the championship. So we've got Audi, we've got Aston Martin, who we're going to talk about shortly, BMW, Ferrari, Ford, of course, that we've talked about, Lamborghini, McLaren are back for their 2nd season in the championship, of course Mercedes, and of course Porsche are involved in the championship as well. That Ford Mustang, when you see it just going through shot there, Fabio Scherer's the red and black car, Arjun Maini is the blue and yellow version of it. It's a 5.4-litre V8 engine. You can still hear it in the background now, can't you? The rumbling V8 engine, 550 brake horsepower, and another great machine. It's a M Sport developed engine as well, that. So real fine performance to the World Rally Championship winning team who develop engines for various championships. And here is Jordan Pepper, who is having his about to have his first full season in the DTM. He made his debut at the Saxon Ring, quite a lively debut it was as well. Got involved in, and it wasn't he got lucky in an incident between Reddy Rast and Marco Wittmann, cannonballed off the road at Saxon Ring, but he showed plenty of speed that weekend as well, and it's a delight to see him back. The TGI branded, one of the TGI branded Lamborghinis being run by the Austrian team, Gottfried Grasser's team, Grasser Racing team, and we've got Luca Engstler in the other Lamborghini as well, and both of them went well in the Oschersleben test at the start of the season. They were up there, both of them in the top 5.
Yeah, we were talking about dark horses coming into this weekend and coming into this season, and both of those Lamborghini drivers very much dark horses. Of course, Luca Engstler has something of a habit of being there or thereabouts, ready to nick a win when everybody least expects it. But isn't it good to have Jordan Pepper on the grid? When we said we were going to have a South African on the grid, I thought it was going to be a Kelvin van der Linde or Sheldon, but in fact have Jordan Pepper, that is a result. And a lot of supporters in South Africa who watch DTM will be cheering him on. They're expecting great things, no pressure or anything.
Yeah, he's a factory Lamborghini driver as well. It's been that for 2 years now, since 2023. Only the 2 races in the DTM. He got a top 10 finish in the race, the other race where he didn't have that contact. He was running for a top 5, top 6 finish in that race as well, so we know he's got plenty of speed, and he will be up there. And here we saw when the 2 Aston Martins that we've got, the Belgian team Come To You Racing are running them with Gilles Magnus and Nicolas Bart, the 2 drivers involved. It looks like Max Powell is about to set the early benchmark time. We've got 2 purple sectors so far and a 3rd as he goes to the last sector, and he sets a time of 1 minute 24.644 seconds. So he's the first one that's looking really racy. You can tell that from the body language of the car. So Max Powell in the Lamborghini there. But to give you a comparison, the Oschersleben test day, the official test day at the start of April, the quickest time was a 1 minute 21.887. And it was Porsche that dominated here a few weeks ago. Thomas Preining, the 2023 champion, 1:21.887, was 3/10 quicker than his teammate, Adrian Guan, who in the other man-type Porsche was 2nd quickest. And then it was Jordan Pepper and Luca Engstler, the 2 Grasser drivers, 3rd and 4th, about half a second off Tommy Preining's ultimate pace, but they were up there 3rd and 4th. And there's a familiar name, Timo Glock. Welcome back to the DTM. fond memories of Oschersleben because in 2015, which was the last race that the DTM had here before a multi-year break, when he came back to Oschersleben last couple of years, last 2 years that we've raced here. But he was a winner here at Oschersleben back in the Class 1 days in 2015. He's finished as high as 5th in the championship. Of course, he's an ex-Formula 1 racer. He had his last season in the DTM was really a kind of an unsuccessful one in the first season of the GTs, the GT3s in 2021. He did come back and have a guest weekend in 2022, but 4 years away. He's back in 2025. And he is with Durr Motorsport alongside Ben Durr, driving one of the 2 McLarens, with Clement Schmidt now moving on from the DTM. And his immense wealth of knowledge is surely going to help that team develop that car in their second season of the DTM, isn't it?
Yes, last year was very much a year of discovery, I think, with Durr Motorsport and that McLaren, just getting to grips with it, not just with the car, but also the whole concept of performance pit stops and everything else that goes with this highly competitive series. But having Timo Glock on board, he brings so much wisdom, so much experience. Ben Durr, one of the younger drivers in the field with less experience. So I think Timo will bring an element to the team that will hopefully elevate them up the grid a little bit. But again, I think they have probably low expectations for the start of the season, but looking to just pick it up as this season progresses. Yeah,
just in some shots of Ayhan Nguyen, who's gone to the top of the times with a 1:24.294. There he is in the green Manthey EMA Porsche. A belated happy birthday, by the way, to the team founder, still very much involved in the team, doesn't own it anymore, but the name is still above the door. Olaf Manthey celebrated his 70th birthday this week as we get a red flag in the session. So red flags.
Why is that?
Might be an issue with the car. It might be a separate issue, so we'll wait to see if we can pick up what that is. But it's just after Ayhan Nguyen, the Turkish driver, sets the quickest time of the session to go, nearly 4/10 quicker than Max Powell. And young Tom Callender, youngest ever DTM driver in the Mercedes, 3rd quickest. I'm sure we'll be talking about him plenty. But from the pictures that we've got, there's no
sure why
obvious reason for the red flag as yet. We'll keep an eye on the messages that we get from race control as well, because sometimes that will enlighten us. It just says red flag at the moment, doesn't say the cause. Oil on the track in turn 7 is the message that's come through. So oil on the track.
Indeed, that's come
turn
from
7, which is that big sweeping second gear right-hander.
Yeah, so I've been oil on the track. I'd be quite curious to know which car that has come from. Looking for oil in the pit lane now. But yes, good that they're on top of that. Oschersleben circuit. There was for a while, it looked as though we might be seeing a different format of circuit this year for this event, because there was talk about reverting to the sharp 90-degree left turn into turn 1 to try and slow the cars down around this corner, the hotel turn. We're not in hotel, we were in the one of the other ones. But yes, there was talk about it, but it was shelved at the last minute. But the track is a little bit slower than last year because they've made some adjustments to the turn 1 just to slow the cars down a bit. They've softened the first corner. They put bollards on the inside of the left-hander, and they put a concrete surface. No, they've removed the concrete surface on the inside of the right-hander so that drivers can't shortcut across it anymore. Luca Engster reckons it will cost about 1.5 tenths a lap compared to last year, and that with the cold temperatures as well. I think the cars will be a bit slower. So a slightly revised format for Oschersleben. I think the prospect of the 90-degree first turn reappearing is not completely done and dusted, and we may well see it next year. I think there were elements of safety evaluation that needed to be done, and there wasn't time to do it. But it would certainly liven things up a bit. It creates more overtaking opportunities, but that really is very sharp, the original layout of turn 1 with that 90-degree turn. Yeah, it would be as quick, but we just saw one of the onboards with Lucas Sauer, and we spoke to him yesterday, and he said, oh, I like the 90-degree corner because more overtaking opportunities. So that would have been
that was the thinking behind it. And the other thinking behind it was two pretty high-speed accidents there at that first corner last year. It's a quick corner in its current format. As I say, it's been slowed a little bit for this year, but Nicky Tim had a big off in qualifying last year in the SSR Performance Lamborghini, and there was a big crash as well for one of the BMWs, the Holtzman twins in... the Holtzman twins in the ADAC GT Masters qualifying session last year as well. So the team have gone down to clear up the oil down at turn 7. Hopefully that trail of oil didn't get trailed all the way back to the pit lane. Otherwise, that's half of the lap they're going to have to try and clear up. So we had about 15 minutes of the session had run when that red flag came out, so they're just checking it now. It does give us time, though, to try and talk through some of the many changes that we've got for this season. We'll talk about the format first. So a revised format in terms of the race distances this year. 60-minute plus 1 lap races, slightly shorter races this year, 55 minutes plus 1 lap. That said, if any laps are lost to a safety car, they can add up to 2 joker laps on to the end of that. So it could become a 55-minute plus 3 lap race, effectively, which would be about an hour long. The most interesting change to the format was only very recently announced. So a mandatory pit stop in the races, as there's previously been. On the Saturday race, that will remain unchanged. Everybody has to make a mandatory pit stop and a tyre change, and that will be between the 20th and 40th minute of the race, the middle third of the race, more or less. But now on Sunday's race, we're going to have 2 mandatory pit stops. It's a change for this year, and the first pit stop will take place between the 10th and the 25th minute. The second pit stop will be a really small window between the 39th and the 45th minute. Gottfried Grasser from Grasser Racing has said, this is not going to be uninteresting. The whole thinking behind it is that it will make the final phase of the race, Brian, a bit more hectic. And it will open up strategy opportunities as well, particularly for those that didn't qualify in the top 10. If you qualify in the top 10, you have to use... you have to start the race on the tyres that you qualified on and set your fastest lap in qualifying. But if you're not in the top 10 in qualifying, you're free to choose which tyres you go for, whether you go for new tyres or tyres that you've run slightly. And Gottfried Grasser, the boss of Grasser Racing, was saying, well, it gives you 18 different alternative strategies with this second pit stop on a Sunday.
Yes, so that really would liven things up a bit, wouldn't it? That's going to be very interesting. And, of course, we can do back-to-back comparisons because we'll have the old format on the Saturday, the new format on the Sunday. But yes, if they qualify outside of the top 10, 18 different strategies, 4 different strategies if they qualify inside the top 10. But it will liven things up. I think just getting the kind of general mood, I think general consensus is it's a good idea and it's going to be interesting. It's really good to see the ADAC, they're prepared to just, you know, change things a little bit to make the show. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, boys.
Heaven forbid it's not even 11:30 in the morning and they're already on the beers.
It's probably non-alcoholic.
Oh, of course, yes, indeed. Yeah, where were we? Oh, yes, the pit stops. I think the general consensus is it's going to... I think it's going to add a really interesting element. I think the cars that struggle to get the heat into the tyres quickly, primarily the BMWs and the Mercedes AMGs, are probably going to be the ones that are most disadvantaged by that, potentially, because, of course, tyre warmers are not allowed in DTM. And don't get us started on warming the tyres, because that's a whole new level of discussion as well. But certainly the tyres need to be cold and unheated when they go on the car. And with that 6-minute window, with up to just, well, as little as 10 minutes remaining of the race, that is going to really throw the proverbial cat amongst the pigeons at the end of the second race, I think.
So obviously it's in and out of the pits as quick as you can get, and the quickest pit stops we see are around about 6 to 6.5 seconds. So we get team radio from Jugonon. Well, not too far away.
Oh, is that what he said?
Yeah. So, yeah, in and out as quick as you can, but you can make an enormous amount of advantage and gain if your outlap is better than other people's outlap on those cold tyres. No tyre warmers allowed, as you've said, and we'll discuss a bit more about a slight rule change that's overseen, a bit of a grey area, let's say, in tyre warming in the DTM. But there are cars, the BMW and the Mercedes in particular, that struggle to get their tyres up to temperature as quick as the others. That was the Achilles heel for BMW and Schubert last year. Their qualifying was pretty poor, really. The three Schubert BMWs averaged 12th, 13th and 14th on the grid last year. René Rast, and this is René Rast, remember, only qualified in the top 10 4 times out of 16 last year. So that it was always an uphill battle. So if you've got a car which struggles to get its tyres up to temperature, you don't really want more pit stops, because that's more opportunity to lose time to other drivers. I spoke to Fabio Scherer about this yesterday. I said, do you see it as an opportunity or something that's going to be tricky? He said, no, for me, it's an opportunity to try and gain something. But he said, I would have liked it to be, no mandatory time that you have to make the pit stop. So 2 pit stops, yes, you've got to make them. But if you could choose when you make them at any point in the race, that would really open up some different and unique strategies and throw up some different results. So that's one opinion. He would like to see that. But there are times, as we've said, and yeah, it's with the slightly shorter race is when we're only going to have 10 minutes now from the end of that second pit window of racing. It's going to be pretty frantic. Yeah,
dash for the cash. I mean, it's what we love. Action guaranteed. There's a nice view of the new grandstand there, just briefly. Oh, there's a nice view. What's that? Meatballs? No, I don't know what that is.
A bit of chorizo,
very nice.
Maybe, yeah.
So yeah, we're not in Spain. Not that kind of weather. But yes,
definitely not.
It is going to throw a really random element. Oh, and then we're bringing the industrial quantities of beer in now.
That's the 3rd or 4th one of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, he's started already. Yeah, yes, you're right. We can see you. There's no hiding here. I have to tell you, we have a camera at every angle here. There are no secrets at Oschersleben.
Making me thirsty.
Do you want me to go and get you a bit? They're only over the hill from where we're sat. I can go and get you one if you want. Yes, it's going to bring a random element in. And isn't it, it's good, the ADAC looking at that. And who knows, it might be this is a step towards losing the pit window. And maybe we have 2 stops with the teams able to choose when that is. They're going to look at... It's about putting on a show. One of the things that... that was said by the ADAC is we want to differentiate, Thomas Voss, who had said it, we want to differentiate between Saturday and Sunday. We don't just want carbon copy races. And, it's a sport, but we are also entertainment. We're about entertaining, and certainly the additional pit stop has the opportunity to bring an additional level of entertainment to the racing.
Yeah, the caveat is that if there is a delay to the first pit stop, because it can be pushed back, if there is an incident on track, safety car, full course yellow, etc., it can be cancelled. So you could have the teams will be let know on a race control message on the screen, but it could be cancelled if there's a delay, because obviously there wouldn't be much time at all between the 2 pit stops. So that's the one caveat to it. So be a bit suck it and see, but it's certainly going to be an interesting element to the Sunday race. Right, replay, Max Powell, second quickest.
Is this something to do with the oil?
Yeah, maybe.
They're sliding on it. I think he found it, did he, or did he drop it?
Can't see anything come from the back of the car to the eye.
Because I noticed some tyre tracks heading off about where they were cleaning up. But this is just to give you of that right angle I was talking about. You can see the old kind of right angle into turn 1, kind of the left-hand side of the first turn. You can see the old right angle corner, which is what they were trying to use for this year and may well happen next year. It's also, you get a good view of how unusual it is. The pit exit deposits the cars right on the racing line.
It gets a bit sketchy
in the
sometimes.
Middle of the hotel turn. It's such an unusual circuit here for that.
Yeah, so that obviously looking at turn 2 now, so the original message, oil at turn 7, but it might be more than the one turn now, which is why drivers are sat in the cars in the garages at the moment, waiting to go. So the new format, the new race distance, the pit stop for Sunday we've talked about. I briefly mentioned the new tyre compound for this year as well from Pirelli. We had a new compound wet tyre last year that was brought in before it was brought into any other GT championship. This year we've got a new compound slick tyre. It's the DHG from Pirelli. Rather than the DHF, which it replaces. The key thing about these tyres is that they are much more sustainable, much better for the environment, because they are FSC certified, which means they're made from natural rubber, which is from responsibly managed forests. That's what's used in the production, so it's more environmentally friendly. The tyre is also used in GT3 racing in the Motorsports Group's championships, so GT World Challenge, for example. So a lot of the teams race in both championships will have some experience of using these tyres and being able to test on these tyres as well at the start of the year, because they don't have test restrictions in the GT World Challenge pre-season winter testing. But that was slightly amended for DTM because they didn't want to give an advantage to those teams that could test the tyres, but in their GT World Challenge format, before anybody else had a chance to test them on the DTM cars pre-season. So there's some familiarity for some of the teams already with those tyres. That said, they can use tyre warmers in GT World Challenge. You can't in the DTM. But the original thought was that they might be even harder to get the temperature into the tyres than the compound we used last year. But I spoke to a couple of drivers yesterday, said, no, actually, I think it's about the same. And Lucas Auer said, I think it might even be a little bit easier to get a bit of temperature into the tyre. Rene Rast has said, driving on the tyre, we haven't got much experience of them yet, but they don't feel too different to what we had last year. So we'll see. And again, we'll know a bit more when we go to a few more different tracks and have a few more different weather conditions. Talking about sustainability, the other sustainable big plus that we've got this year, Brian, is that we've gone for an all 100% synthetic fuel, which is much, much better for the environment. 70% less emissions coming from the fuel that's been used in the cars this year.
Yeah, that's great, isn't it? And the DTM Pro Climate, as it is called, it has been developed. Going to be used across all of the ADAC formulas, and also Porsche Carrera Cup, Porsche 6 Carrera Cup Germany using it as well this year. The one thing about it is that it's slightly higher consumption, so which is one of the reasons why the races have now been shortened to 55 minutes plus 1 lap. But isn't it good to see the ADAC pushing forwards with a lot of the sustainable issues, and a synthetic fuel which has so much less in the way of CO2 emissions? And I think this is the way forwards, and I think we're going to see the emission level dropping and dropping, and this is what we kind of been looking for in motorsport, and it's great to see the ADAC leading the way. They are very, very conscious of all issues, environmental, even down to the fact that, as has been the case for the last couple of years, the paddock area is a plastic bottle-free zone. You cannot get a plastic bottle for love or money. There are water dispensers. We can get hot, cold, or sparkling water out of a machine free of charge. They're all about just thinking about sustainability, as we hear Nicky Tim's radio.
Turn 7 now. They're not doing anything in turn 2. They're going to need 10 minutes to clean turn 7 with the oil cleaning machine, and we will still have the 40 minutes of the session remaining.
I should think that whoever has dropped that oil has had a fairly major issue, because there seems to be an awful lot of it around the track. I'd be interested to know who that is, because that's a major cleanup operation, isn't it?
Yeah, turn 2 is actually where most of it seems to have been dumped rather than turn 7. A message came through, which is kind of just been relayed to Nicky Tim there, that it's going to be a few minutes yet. It's all at turn 2, but they're expecting that we still will get the remaining 40 minutes and 31 seconds of the session in. So the clock now stops in free practice rather than continuing on, and it stopped with 40 minutes and 31 to go. If there was a big delay, they might have to shorten that, but the message from race control is that at the moment we think we're going to get it done quick enough that we can keep the remaining 40 and a half minutes of the session to go. Obviously great news for everybody who needs as much time as possible, especially the new drivers, especially the new teams and the new cars in the championship. They need as much track time as possible. The voice that you heard there, speaking to Nicky Tim, was Franco Chiacchetti, who is race engineer for Nicky at Abt Motorsport, and he's come back to Abt after some time away. So he was Martin Tomczyk's first engineer in the DTM. They've remained close. Martin, of course, former DTM champion, is now team principal at Abt Motorsport. And he previously, Franco, worked for a long time at Abt, from 2001 all the way to 2018. He was also technical director for Abt in Formula E. He's come back to the DTM, and it's a real coup to get a race engineer like that for Nicky Tim, who had some ups and downs last year, but of course one of the great highs, the great high for the very likeable Danish driver, was that he got his first win in the DTM at the Norris Ring. Pole position and a win, and a dream come true. It's probably just about the most emotional victory of the year, I would say, wasn't it?
I mistakenly called him Norwegian yesterday. That's because we call him the Viking.
Not to his face.
No, I really wouldn't. It'd sit me down permanently, I think. Yeah, I mean, he has a massive fan club, does Nicky Tim. A real character, lovely guy as well. And it was very emotional to see him win at the Norris Ring. A lot of people following him and cheering for him. Just interesting, you were talking about the crowds earlier. We had 42,500 people last year here at Oschersleben. We're expecting significantly more than that this year. And it's interesting, the Mustang effects, the Timo Glock effect, very much the Nicky Tim effect as well. Really, these are the kind of things that draw the crowd in here in DTM, and there's certainly the following for this legendary series is growing fairly exponentially, really, year on year.
Yeah, well, we haven't seen the best of Nicky Tim yet in the DTM, have we? He's had some ups and downs, had some bad luck as well. He got that win, but he was only 13th in the championship last year, and of course his teammate, Berko Bortolotti, won the championship title. And it was his first full season in the championship last year. He had a few races in 2022 with the T3 Motorsport team in a Lamborghini, which went defunct in the end. So it was his first proper crack at the championship last year. Like a lot of other drivers, he also raced elsewhere. He was fourth in the GT World Challenge Europe, but he's been a pro-class champion in LMGTE, in the World Endurance Championship. He's raced and been successful in Porsches, in British GT, you name it. But I think there's more to come from Nicky. Definitely, we know he's a very talented driver. It's also, if you get a chance, worth checking out his YouTube channel, because he does, I mean, he's a huge sim race. He does a lot of features on that, but he does a lot of features on historic DTM racing as well. And of course, his dad, Kurt Tim, was a very successful DTM racer, 18 times a race winner. Looks like we've got a helmet cam on here. We're told not to look now. There's Torsten Schubert helping out. One of the engineers there, the team boss of Schubert, to the left of the picture that you saw. And you're right, Brian, it's pretty serious clear-up operation, this, isn't it?
I haven't seen one like this in a long time, and it's good they've got the industrial equipment in, because, of course, we don't want to be taking any risks here, and they will make sure that the track is absolutely perfect before they release cars onto it. But frustrating for a lot of drivers. We've got a lot of newcomers to DTM this year, and as already mentioned, some drivers making comebacks. This session and the next session pretty crucial, because of course testing is very limited in DTM, so every single minute of lap time counts, and you're getting into the rhythm. You know you've got quali, well, it would be done and dusted by this time tomorrow, so a lot of data to be collected, tyres to be scrubbed in, work to be done, and at the moment you're sat around with a stuffed toy on the rear wing waving at the camera. It's very entertaining, but it's not getting the data, it's not getting the experience. So the drivers will be itching to get going, and hopefully this will happen soon, and the clock will start ticking down, and we'll be able to get this thing rolling again.
The slightly quirky thing about Nicky Tim is that he's an Aston Martin factory driver, but yet he's racing a DTM in the DTM in a Lamborghini, as he did last year. But unlike last year, this year there are some Aston Martins on the grid, because Come To You Racing have come into the championship, the Belgian team. And Nicky won the Spa 24-hour race last year. He won it. What a great week that was. He won the Spa 24-hour race. He won at the Norris Ring in the DTM. But he won in an Aston Martin with Come To You Racing. So he's racing against, you know, a brand that he works for, and against a team that he's won with in the championship this year.
Yes, that's confused everybody, hasn't it? Isn't it great to see Aston Martin back in, or no, in the DTM, not back in the, no, actually back in the DTM, but in GT3 with Come To You Racing. Gilles Magnus and Nicholas Bart are the two drivers. The appropriately numbered 007, the associations there, Aston Martin, have always been dining out on the Bond theme, and 008, really good to have them here. Another car that sounds amazing when it's coming tearing past you at full chat along the pit straight. But two very welcome additions, and two great to have these two drivers on the grid as well, both from Belgium, Gilles Magnus and Nicholas Bart. And yeah, they're finding their feet this weekend. They're another couple who could really do with this session getting going.
Yeah, the Aston Martin Vantage. Yeah, there was just that one season of Aston Martins in the Class 1 era, the back end of the Class 1 era. They brought some Aston Martins in, but yeah, it's fantastic to see them in V8, lovely sounding car. Heavy standing engine, 4 litre, and like all the GT3 cars, more than 550 brake horsepower. Gilles Magnus, one of the 2 Belgian drivers that's with the team last year, the Gold Cup class champion in the GT World Challenge Sprint Cup. He got 6 class wins, but he was in an Audi R8 last year. He's raced like his teammate Nicholas Bart in touring cars as well, in front-wheel drive cars. He's raced in the World Touring Car Cup. Nicolas Bart has raced in TCR in the past as well. But they've both got plenty of GT experience, so it'll be very much a development season for them. But great to see them. Here is the number 90 of Anh Nguyen, who had set the fastest lap just before that red flag stopped the session. And
I'm looking at every car to see if anything's coming out from underneath.
Yeah, no slipping and sliding for him. It was certainly a very good lap from Anh Nguyen. He got on the podium towards the end of last year. But again, it was particularly the first half of the season last year was very frustrating for him. He got some bad luck, didn't he? But he started to string the results together. And a bit like Nicky Tim, I think we're going to see a lot more from Anh Nguyen this year. That showed with that second quickest lap time that he put in the test session here at the start of the season. He's a driver with bags of experience, isn't he? Particularly in Porsches. Yeah,
we were talking about this over dinner last night. He's somebody who is due some good luck, and I think the race win is not far away for Anh Nguyen. He's come so close. He's hugely talented. As you say, we've seen him come through Porsche 6 Carrera Cup Germany, Porsche Mobil 1 Super Cup. Oh, I haven't seen him yet. That's Jack Aitken, isn't it? Hello, Jack. And I would just say, we haven't said this yet, not 1, but 2 Brits on the grid this year in DTM. Great to have Jack Aitken here. Great also to welcome Ben Green, also for Emil Fry Racing. So that's going to be exciting and give us plenty to talk about. I know that DTM has a massive following in the UK, and there will be something extra to cheer about this year.
And not 1, not 2, but 3 Ferraris this year, because Thierry Vermeulen is back as well, having very, very nearly won his first race in the DTM last year at Sachsenring, albeit for a penalty for a pit stop infringement. Still got pole, still got a podium, but he was a rapidly developing driver as well. So Emil Fry Racing back with 3 of the Ferrari 296s, including for Jack Aitken, who won 3 races last year. And if they can get the consistency and be quick at every track and have less DNFs, less non-point scoring finishes, we know the driver, Jack Aitken, and the car, the Ferrari, is a race-winning combination. So no reason why they can't challenge for the championship this year. There's one of our onboards. We've got 6 onboard camera cars for this weekend, and that was Arjun Maini. You were just having a look at the cars that we got onboards on. Mirko Bortolotti, Jack Aitken, Timo Glock, Lucas Auer, René Rast, and Thomas Preining carrying onboard cameras. Ooh. And this man, Jack Aitken, who is heading down the end of the pit lane.
Well, that gives us reason for optimism, doesn't it?
11:45 restart time, we're being told, which is in, what, 20 seconds time?
Yeah. Brilliant news. Oh, that's good. We'll get this rolling again. It's felt like quite a long red flag period, this has. Yeah. But it's good. We've still got a lot more news to tell you about, lots of new drivers to tell you about as well. We're just going to spread it out a little bit here, but good. Cars at the end of the pit lane, as with the previous green flag, René Rast at the front of the queue. I think he might be eager to get out there. I think he's going to be eager to make a challenge for the championship this year. And he's certainly due a few more race wins. The most successful driver in the field this year. He pulls out onto the track, and that is the view from Jack Aitken as finally we get back to green flag conditions.
Let's talk about René Rast then. 3 times a champion. Couple of seasons now as a BMW driver. First of all, let's congratulate him, because finally, after quite a long time of trying, he got last weekend, the other weekend at Imola, his first ever podium in the World Endurance Championship in the BMW hypercar. He's been a winner in the LMP2 class in the World Endurance Championship, but never in the top class has he been on the podium. So great news for René Rast. Good start to the season in his World Endurance Championship battles. Of course, he has been a 3-time champion in this championship, the DTM. He's 3rd on the all-time list of race winners. There's only 2 drivers with more race wins than René Rast in the history of the championship, and if he gets 1 more pole position, he'll have the outright record for the most number of poles in the DTM. He's tied at the moment at the top, Bernd Schneider, if memory serves. But this year might be a test. He's suggesting it could be a difficult year because, well, let's start with the test here at Oschersleben a few weeks ago. 20th quickest. out of the 24 cars, René Rast, 1.5 seconds off the pace. News came through that the BMWs of Marco Wittmann and René Rast, who drive for Schubert, their BOP has been affected in terms of ride height. Now, this is something that was applied to the Porsches just before the start of last season. Thomas Preining, of course, started last season as the defending champion, and the ride height was altered by 5 millimeters. Now, ride height is the ground clearance from the bottom of the car to the ground itself, to the surface itself. The lower you can get a car, the more stable it is through the corners, the more aerodynamically better it is. Why Formula One cars are just millimeters off the ground. So higher up, less well handling, and the Porsches really struggled here last year. They got to grips with that. Thomas Preining has subsequently said, yeah, when they changed the ride height, it was almost like relearning the setup of the car. We had to change everything. We had to relearn how to set up the car up. And he got quicker, and he had a good weekend after that. We got a race win, finished 5th in the championship. But the BMW, the rear ride height has gone up even more, 7.5 millimeters.
That's massive.
And a 1.5 millimeters at the front as well. And René Rast has said he's not too happy about this, as you can imagine. Has said, well, now we're going to have to basically start from scratch with the setup of the car.
Yeah, that's a massive learning curve. When you add into that, we've got new tyres to learn as well. Yeah, that's quite a big hit, isn't it? But everything to do with the BOP and with the setup of the car is very carefully scrutinised, and the whole BOP system is very transparent. And this year, the ADAC have worked very hard. They've made it, the whole process open for viewing and for discussion. Claude Sermont, the Belgian who likes to stay in the background very much, who is the SRO technical director and representative from the ADAC, they draw up the BOP having weighed up manufacturer comments, and they make these adjustments and these changes with good reason. But I think Schubert Motorsport might have something to say about that.
The BMWs have got an Evo package on, so a development package. So it's the same car, which is perhaps why this has been brought in, because SROs at the BOP have said, well, you've got these developments to the car. We maybe need to try and slow you down effectively to keep things equal, because all these cars have different amounts of horsepower, different characteristics, different weights. So BOP balance of performance equalises things. You can add weight to the cars and not success balance, but BOP weight to the cars. You can tweak the amount of power that is delivered to the cars. You can put restrictors on them, and it's various things you can do to change things and equalise things to give it, and they'll change it over the course of a weekend as well. But the Evo package, predominantly, René Rast said, well, there's not that much difference to it. The key thing that they've done with it, the main focus has been the differential, which they can now adjust without having to take the whole gearbox out, which before they had to take the gearbox out, and it was always a real sticking point. If they wanted to tweak something, it was a major job. It took a long time to change it. He said, but otherwise, we've got small winglet on the front bumper. That's another change on the bodywork. Otherwise, it's just minor details, the Evo package, that you can't really see visually, and you can't really notice that much as a driver. So that is why they're disgruntled, because they say, well, it's not like we're much quicker than we were last year with the car, but now we've got this ride height adjustment. But that is what they've now got to live with, and that could be an interesting weekend. It's also, as we said at the start of the show, a circuit doesn't necessarily suit the BMWs, the bigger, wider cars, that well anyway around this circuit. So René Rast perhaps struggling. And BOP, one of the things that you can tweak this year as well, which is new for the season, is that you can specify the minimum angle of the rear wing. And for the BMW rear wing, it's 4 degrees for this event at least. So yeah, lots to relearn. You think you've got a setup from last year or the year before, you look at it and you go, oh, okay, we'll put that setup on. We know that's the quickest setup we can run, but it might not stick. As we see Riccardo Fella in action in the Land Motorsport Audi that we talked about earlier on. This car has been sat in a showroom, essentially on display, which he won the ADAC GT Masters Championship with. He drove for Land Motorsport for 3 seasons, and he won the championship in the GT Masters with them as a youngster in 2021. The Swiss driver who was due to be a Porsche driver in the DTM. The deal then fell through. The team dropped out of the championship, and at the last second they've come together with his old team, Land Motorsport. They've come into the DTM, just Ricciardo in the car. But of course, if anybody knows how to get an Audi R8 very quickly around a racetrack, it is Ricciardo Fella, who came very close to winning the championship in a similar car 2 years ago.
Yeah, you can see how hard he's pushing, actually. He's up to P3 in these tests in these chilly conditions. So he's certainly hustling it around. That is a collector's piece, an antique you're driving there, Ricciardo. Please don't stack it. We've got the panels, apparently, are safely in storage. They'll stick them back on the car at the end of the season. But it is, of course, the lone Audi in the field. Anyone who thought that we weren't going to see any Audis this year were very much mistaken, because Ricciardo Fella, who's gone purple in Sector 2, so he's definitely got the hammer down here. He crosses the line. We're going to see how he does here. Of course, the times not necessarily representative of later in the weekend, but he goes to the top at the moment at 1:24.119. So he's the quickest of anybody. So clearly seeing what he can get out of that Audi, and it just goes to show it's built with the future in mind, because the only difference is the Evo package that's been fitted to it. Certainly very rapid here.
Very experienced team in GT Masters winning championship team. They've been around since 1990, but this is their going to be their first season in the DTM. Land Motorsport, founded by Wolfgang Land. Christian Land is the team chief, so very much a family-founded business. On their media information sheets, the question that is asked of them is, what ritual is part of every DTM weekend or every race weekend for you? Barbecue on Thursday evening is the answer. So we've got the right idea.
Oh, we like that. We also like the new livery for Lucas Auer. Well, it depends on what side you look at it. Like we need any confusing. It's pink on one side, BWT, red on the other side. But great to have Lucas Auer back. The yellow Mamba is still on the track. It's now been handed over to another legendary driver, which we'll talk about at some point, I have no doubt, as we see the time on the bottom of the screen for Tom Callender. There is a welcome addition, the youngest ever driver to start a DTM event, a driver who is in fact still at school. Tom Callender, the outgoing ADAC GT Masters champion. Lucas Auer hustling it around the final corner. But Tom Callender, he is the reigning GT Masters champion along with Elias Sepnen. Very sad not to see Elias Sepnen on the grid of DTM this year, but very happy to see Tom Callender. This is a steep learning curve for him, and he is a very welcome addition to the ranks. Going to very much looking forward to see how he gets on in the Mercedes-AMG Team Landgraf Mercedes here this weekend.
And Marco Wittmann has just gone to the top of the time, so scratch everything we said about BMW struggling around this track and the ride height adjustments. Marco Wittmann, quickest. Remember, he very, very, very nearly won a race here last year, so, you know, maybe not that bad around here. It's only because the fuel issue with a couple of laps to go. It was a cleverly worked out pit stop that got him to the front of the field from a very lowly grid position. Jack 8 could have been comfortably leading until that point, but then the car, a fueling issue, devastation for Torsten Schubert and the team to lose that race win, although, of course, that then turned into joy a few months later when he ended up winning at Zandvoort, Marco Wittmann. But the two-time champion, 1:23.953, going 46 thousandths of a second quicker than the next best driver, which is one of our 5 rookies on the grid this year. Maurice Schuring in the Porsche, the Dutch driver, the orange Porsche, so the third of the Manthey run cars. It's officially the Manthey Junior team, but he's under the auspices of Manthey. I spoke to Thomas Preining yesterday, and he said it will definitely be good to have 3 Porsches and be able to learn each other's data. But of course, you know, I'll help Maurice where I can, but we're all looking out for ourselves as Tom Callender, Brian, goes to the top of the timing screens.
Rookies, no. Oh, look at that. Oh, well, Archer Good's got something to say about that, but I'm very excited to see Maurice Schuring as he's improved still further. Great to see Maurice Schuring on the grid. It's been my privilege to commentate on him over the last few years in Porsche 6 Carrera Cup Germany, where he's a race winner there. We've seen him winning in Porsche Mobil 1 Super Cup, but the highlights of his career, no doubt, last year, winning in the GT3 category at the Le Mans 24-hour race. That really is a lot of people sitting up and taking notice of Maurice Schuring. Very, very excited to have him in DTM and excited to see how he gets on. I don't think it's going to take him long to get his feet under the table and to get onto the podium, if I'm honest. He comes from a very quick racing family. He has a brother Schering, who is coming up through the ranks, and I reckon one day we might see both of them in the DTM, but at the moment our focus very much on Maurice Schering, as now Lucas Auer takes a big chunk of time, some 3.5 tenths out of Thomas Preining's fastest time, so Lucas Auer to the top now. So lap times are tumbling as we look at Anchan Nguyen.
Austria 1-2. Lucas Auer from Thomas Preining. Scratch that, because Ben Green splits them. Ben Green, his debut in the Ferrari, goes second quickest in this practice session, 1:23.5. But Anchan Nguyen with another really good lap. He's consistently quick, isn't he, the Turkish driver? He's been to the top of the times, what, 4 times now? And the latest lap, best of them all, a 1:23.144. However, Thomas Preining in the other Manthey EMA Porsche has just done the absolute best first sector. The lap, here is Thomas Preining. The lap, as he goes through the chicane, is divided into 3 sectors, so he can keep track of the lap time and the progress of the lap as it goes. Sector 1 runs from the start-finish line through turns 1, 2, and the exit to turn 3, that sweeping left-hander Hassenroder, that's where sector 1 ends. Sector 2 takes in turns 4, 5, 6, the right-hander at 7, the chicane at turns 8 and 9, the exit to turn 10, and most of the back straight. And then turn 3, sector 3 is a bit shorter, takes in the right-left S-bend section through turns 11 and 12, and the last 2 corners. Is it going to be the quickest lap of all for Thomas Preining? He goes through, it's not. Started well, but it just tailed away a little bit in the middle of the lap. The last sector was good, a personal best, but the middle sector, he just lost out a little bit. So Nguyen is quickest. Anchan Nguyen ahead of Lucas Auer by nearly 0.2 of a second. Ben Green is 3rd quickest. Max Powell in the Lamborghini has gone 4th. Nicky Tim in another Lamborghini has gone 5th quickest. 6th is Thierry Vermeulen, who we haven't seen, but he put a good lap in not long ago. Thomas Preining is down to 7th. And Maurice Schering in the 3rd Porsche crosses the line and goes into the top 3 as well. 1:23.401 seconds. That's exactly half a second off the fastest time, which still belongs to his teammate Anchan Nguyen, as we see Arjun Miley in the foreground coming through the shot. Tell you, I haven't seen really at all, apart from one shot of him in the car, in the garage, not moving, Mirko Bortolotti. Hasn't put a lap time in yet.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the timing screen because I'm trying to work out who it was who dropped all the oil. So I'm looking at cars that are still in the garage, and there's 3 Lamborghinis that have not really put in a lap time. Those are Mirko Bortolotti and the 2 GRT Grasser cars of Luca Engstler and Jordan Pepper, who are probably contenders for the drivers who might have dropped that oil. Clearly somebody's had an issue. But yes, Mirko Bortolotti has done 2 laps, Luca Engstler has done 1, and Jordan Pepper has done 2. Clearly, whether there's an issue or not, but the Grasser cars in the pits, not seemingly in any hurry for either of them to get out.
Thomas Preining has gone 2nd quickest with the lap you just saw from the onboard camera. There is the 2023 champion. Asked him yesterday if he'd actually ever counted how many trophies he's got, because he won millions of them when he was a junior Rotax karter, the European karting champion, which is where I first met Tommy and his family. And he said, no, he said, most of them are at my mum and dad's home, but there's a nice big space on the mantelpiece, a gap where the DTM Championship trophy used to be, and I'm keeping the space free for the end of this year, he said. You're on board with the former champion now. He was only 19 thousandths of a second away from Nguyen, so it's early in the weekend, but it's looking potentially good for the Porsches, for Manthey, having been the quickest 2 here in the test a few weeks ago. They're now the quickest 2 here, albeit a different way round. In this, and 4th with Maurice Schering as well. So Porsche's 1st, 2nd and 4th. Preining on an even quicker lap this time round as well. Absolute best first sector, absolute best second sector. That Lamborghini, the Alps Lamborghini's not quite going to hold him up, I don't think. So he should get a clear run to the line. He will get a clear run to the line. This is the best lap of the session, 1:22.596 seconds. That puts him, in DTM terms, a whopping 0.3 quicker than his teammate.
When we saw Thomas yesterday, I would say he looked supremely confident and laid back. He looked as chilled as anything, and as with Mirko Bortolotti, a laid-back Thomas Preining is a dangerous Thomas Preining. Right, there's a car I've been looking forward to see. I cannot tell you how excited I am to have Jules Gounon in DTM this year. Welcome, Jules Gounon. We saw him guesting at Hockenheim at the end of last year. He is the new inhabitant of the Yellow Mamba. Great to have him here, and he is... guarantee it, going to be a contender in the DTM 2025. A supremely skilled driver, multiple champion, and we're so excited to have him in DTM in 2025.
Didn't have a bad debut at Hockenheim, did he? A 6th place finish in one of the races as well, as he stood in the Mercedes. And I spoke to him that weekend. He said, "I'm really liking the DTM. I love the fact I can do it on my own. I'm not with a teammate."
Yeah.
I had the sense then that he would want to come back. He was standing in for an ill Luca Stoltz, and here he is indeed back again, as Arjun puts in a decent time in the Mustang to go 11th quickest with a 1:23.6. Gets a bit of a slide on there, though. But the Indian driver, as I say, his best season yet. Oh, the sound of that Mustang. Fantastic as he goes through. Gounon, he's on a decent lap as well. He's had green sector time, so Jules Gounon, the Mamba Mercedes, about to come through. And he goes 3rd quickest. That's good. 1:22.946 seconds. Our best lap is Thomas Priding, who holds the qualifying lap record around here. He's done a 1:22.5. To put it in context, free practice 1 last year, Maro Engel in the Mercedes set the quickest time in free practice 1. That was a 1:21.951. So at the moment, we're about 0.6 of a second away from the best free practice time that we had last year. Worth bearing in mind, of course, the quicker times are going to come in qualifying. So, tyre situation is that for some of the tracks, you get 4 sets of new tyres, which have to run over 2 qualifying sessions and 2 races. And at some tracks, you get 3 sets. This is one of the tracks where you get 4 sets. So 4 sets of new tyres. In free practice, generally, on a weekend, you'll have 2 sets of used tyres and 1 set of new tyres. It's a bit different for the first round, of course, because you get an extra set of new tyres. But the best tyres, and therefore the quickest times, are going to be saved for the qualifying sessions. Last year, 1:21.9 by Maro Engel in this equivalent session. Is a little bit warmer, but it wasn't that warm. It was 13 degrees this time last year. It's 11.1 now. The track temperature last year was 15 degrees. It's 12.5 at the moment, so it is cooler, which probably, I know we've got these new tyres as well, but it probably explains why we're not quite matching the
once again, and moves up into 5th place at 1:23.2, so about 0.6 down from Thomas Priding and Anchin Nguyen. So the time's still tumbling. We've got 20.25 minutes remaining of this, the first of 2 free practice sessions here this weekend, the only free practice sessions for DTM here at Oschersleben, and then we're into qualifying.
So the feedback so far from both the team and the driver is that they're really impressed with one another. Mirko Bortolotti has been super impressed with the professionalism at Abt Motorsport, who, with 78 race wins in the DTM, the most successful team currently on the grid in the DTM. They're still looking for their first driver's title, which might surprise you to think about it, but it's been a long while since they won the Drivers' Championship. You have to go back to Timo Scheider. In 2009 was the last time they won the Drivers' Championship. They won the Team Championship more recently. That's been a few years as well. They've knocked on the door and come very close, of course, in recent seasons, particularly last season, with Calvin van der Linde, who led the championship with a day to go in the championship, but ultimately couldn't quite do it at the end, and Mirko Bortolotti beat him to the title. But they have been really impressed with Mirko as well, and the team principal, Martin Tomczyk, has said, you know, every little detail he is looking at. He's very astute when it comes to the engineering side. His feedback, his understanding of setup and the whole engineering side of the car and trying out different setups is exceptional. And Martin Tomczyk said, you do not... Going wide there. It's the number 24 Mercedes. Just put a couple of wheels on the grass there. Not the first time we've seen that. Maro Engel just getting a bit wide. New number, new colour scheme for Maro, who had another very successful voyage out to Macau at the end of last year. He won another GT World Cup race there, but that was just a little bit wide through Hotel Turn. Nothing harmful.
Just finding the limit.
Well, he found it, because he's he'd gone 4th quickest with his best lap just before that, Maro Engel. I haven't seen much of him, really, but he's just gone 4th quickest before that lap. But that one will be compromised now. And yes, going back to Martin Tomczyk, he said with Mirko Bortolotti, you don't need to motivate him, Brian, because he is ultra motivated. Yeah. And he said, I haven't got the facts to back this up, but my feeling about Mirko is that he's the driver out there that makes the fewest mistakes. And when you think about it, that's true, isn't it? when do you see Mirko throw it off the road or have a spin or make a mistake? It's very rare, isn't it?
Very precise, and he always has been. The other thing I'd say about Abt Motorsport is they know how to put on a show. If you'd seen the season launch in the Austrian mountains, that was spectacular. Go and check it out
in the Alps,
on YouTube. It was certainly in the Alps, at the top of a mountain, unveiling. Well, only Abt would do that, unveil it, and we all got to see the livery and the drivers. Very spectacular. There's Max Power. We've got a replay here of him just attempting to remove one of our bollards. We haven't got a camera in it yet this weekend. I heard rumour there might be one at some point. Hopefully not too many manoeuvres like that.
Might be rethinking that.
We did also just see, yes, the producers currently putting the camera back away again. We did just see Luca Engstler out on track. So by process of elimination, I'm expecting it was probably Jordan Pepper who had the issue that may have dropped that oil.
We've definitely seen Jordan on the track, and I just can't remember having seen Luca Engstler go out there at all. So
yeah, but we've just seen him now. So I think Jordan did those 2 laps early on, and he's been in the pits ever since. So clearly some issues there.
Yeah, let's see if we can find out between the two.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sessions. Here is Mirko Bortolotti. Then we spoke yesterday with Thomas Voigt, who for a long time has looked after all the media and PR for Abt. And he too impressed with the attention to detail. He said even down to the drinks bottle, the detail comes from Mirko Bortolotti. The fabulous launch event to introduce the new team, the new brand for Abt, of course, their first partnership in the DTM alongside Lamborghini. The blue skies, the white snow of the Alps, 2 Lamborghini. That's bold. World Challenge champion last year alongside Maro Engel as well. Lucas Sauer, so still very much got it. He was busy on media duties. Lucas Sauer, so still very much got it. He was busy on media duties.
Just like we need any more confusing, they get a different. There's a different point structure for qualifying for the rookies. They can also earn negative points if they pick up penalties, track limits, infringements, whatever it is. So that's a separate championship that is running, very similar to the Road to DTM championship, which operates in GT Masters. And if you're
through the gravel as well, 2 wheels, committed stuff from Ben Dirt, start of his 2nd season in the DTM as he made his way through the final corner at nearly 100 kilometres an hour, goes over the line and goes into the top 10. Committed lap that from Ben, and good stuff for him to go into the 123s as well, a 123.3. Welcome back to the DTM, everybody. They're 7/10 of a second covering the top 10, top 11 actually, in this session. That was the moment that Bender extracted everything he possibly could from the McLaren and found the limits, but he kept his foot well and truly buried, didn't he?
Yeah, well, that's what free practice is all about, as we look at Mirko Bortolotti, just chatting to his engineer. But free practice, it's about pushing the limit, finding the limit, and working out where you can go, how hard you can push, and then putting all that into good use tomorrow morning in quali. There is Tom Callender, the youngest ever driver to have started in DTM. So we were talking about him earlier, and good to see him out on track. He was looking chilled, and that's not so chilled out of the corner. But we talked to him yesterday, and he said, yeah, I'm calm at the moment, but I think the heart is going to be racing a little bit tomorrow. And it's a steep learning curve. When you think that only a couple of years ago, Tom Callender was racing in Formula 4 France as part of the ADAC team. That is a massive ascendancy, a real talent. We look again, he'd probably be quite happy if we didn't keep re-showing that one. But a real talent, and he was so mature last year when all the heat was on in the GT Masters Championship. They're at the front of the championship with Elias Seppänen, and he just always kept his cool, always kept it together, not many mistakes, real championship material, and very much deserves a seat in DTM.
Yeah, he's got quite a good manager as well. Bernd Schneider, the legend of DTM, 5-time champion, 43-time winner. There's somebody who's going to give you lots of useful tips. But you're right, he seems like a super laid-back character. And he said, yeah, just looking forward to it. I said, the moment you realise you're a DTM driver will be the pit lane walkabout, the autograph session, when the fans flock upon you in their thousands on race day. So then you'll realise that you've made it to the DTM. And his eyes lit up. He said, yeah, I think you're right. But yeah, taking it all in his stride and doing a good job at the moment. So Tom Callender, his best lap time, just over a second away from the fastest lap time. René Rast on board with him now. So it seems a while ago that we saw Marco Wittmann at the top of the times. How things change in the DTM. Marco's now 19th quickest with a 1:23.8, and Tom Callender, we've talked to him up to 14th place. He's just set his personal best lap time of the session. René Rast, who we saw briefly, he's only 17th at the moment, so 17th and 19th for the two BMWs. Haven't talked too much yet. We mentioned him a few times because he's been going quickly. And Maurice Schuring there in the you can't miss orange and black Manthey Junior Porsche, and Manthey taking that young Dutch driver to 8th place now. So Maurice Schuring, that's a decent lap time into the low 1:24s now. So all the Porsches going well.
Yes, he will be there or thereabouts all season long. I just know it. You were talking about the pressure, the stardom of it all. Great to see that we're going to have the Sunday walk-in featuring heavily on the DTM programme. We had it at Hockenheim last year, where the DTM drivers are introduced to the fans prior to the race, kind of American style, I would say, but it's great because we really want to connect the drivers, not just the cars and the liveries. We want to connect the drivers with people. We want people to engage with them, and the Sunday walk-in is going to be featuring at every event this year, and Tom Callender will really know he's arrived when he steps through whatever archway they've created when he walks in on Sunday.
Gladiators coming into the arena,
Exactly.
well at Hockenheim, didn't it? And went down well. All right, Maurice Schuring then, who's only 20 years young himself, going well in 8th place at the moment, was the LMG T3 class winner at Le Mans last year with this team, with Manthey. Actually became one of the youngest ever drivers to compete at Le Mans, full stop. He's only 19 years of age. Just going back to Tom Callender, he's got 3 years to win the championship, because Pascal Wehrlein, who was 20 years old, was the youngest ever DTM champion. So he's got loads of time to break that record.
He won it twice, 3 times.
Maurice Schuring, equally a young and upcoming driver. It's a nice balance this year, isn't it, Brian, of the established, we know already, top-class GT3 drivers, top DTM drivers, like your Thomas Pridings, like your René Rasts, like your Mirko Bortolottis, and your Marco Wittmanns and your Lucas Auers. But then you've got these young stars of the future really coming through, who we've already seen glimpses of in other championships performing well, like Tom Callender and like Maurice Schuring as well.
And it must be a pinch-yourself moment when you're racing on the same track as Timo Glock, who was racing Formula 1 possibly before you were even born, and you're on the track with them now going wheel to wheel.
Not in my case.
No, not you, as in them, certainly not you. But these younger, I mean, Tom Callender, how long ago was it that Timo Glock was in Formula 1? It was a fairly long time ago, and to be going wheel to wheel with him now in DTM, that's a proper pinch-yourself moment, I should think.
Yeah, my son's the same age as Tom Callender, so that makes me feel really old. Tom Callender's racing DTM.
Dad!
I've got the backing for that.
No.
And Tom's put another good lap in, you know. He's gone 9th quickest. Others have improved as well, but best lap last time around, a 1:23.29. 7/10 of a second now cover the top 12. Less than a second covering the top 15 as we go into the last 7 minutes of the session. Nicky Tim over the line, but it's another mega lap. He's back in 15th place at the moment. So Porsche's first and second, Preining and Guan. Then Mercedes of Gunon third. The Lamborghini of Bortolotti, which is in the pits now, is fourth. We saw Mirko having a conversation with his new engineer, but a very familiar face, Leon Wippersteg, as the race engineer. He's always a very animated, very passionate engineer, Leon. He was, of course, for the last few years been the race engineer for Kelvin van der Linde, so he now becomes Mirko Bortolotti's race engineer. Maro Engel in the Mercedes fifth. Thierry Vermeulen has kind of gone under the radar in this session. I won't really see much of him, but he's the best of the Ferraris, Thierry, in 6th place, carrying on the good work from the last 2 years. And Lucas Auer, Mercedes 7th, Maurice Schuring, Porsche 8th, Tom Callender, Mercedes 9th, Ricardo Feller in the Sol Audi, running in a very creditable 10th place, and a very creditable 11th place for Ben Dur in this session as well, as the best of the McLarens. The best of the Fords is Arjun Maini in 16th, and the best of the BMWs is René Rast, but back in 17th. Yeah, I've got a very good pace, Morris.
You
Absolutely right, yeah. He's looking good, looking comfortable, isn't he?
To answer my earlier question, Timo Glock was racing in Formula 1 4 years before Tom Callender was born. There you go. Old much? No. Yes, good. Well, we're coming into the last 5 minutes of this session. It's been a long old session, but it's been really nice. It's actually nice to have had a bit of time just to unpack what is looking like a classic season of DTM. We sat down last night, we said, right, who are the contenders for the title? We listed about 24 drivers and then decided we didn't know, really.
Yeah, the question is, are we going to get more winners, different winners than last year? 10 different winners in the championship last year, and you can see it being something similar this year as well. So wide open, I'm sure it will be once again. And Luca Engstler has just popped himself up into 21st place, and there's his teammate Jordan Pepper. So the two Brasser Racing Run Lamborghinis started to make a bit more of an appearance now in those Lamborghini Hurricanes. So not much running from them in the early part of the session, but they are now out there in the official name for the team, the TGI Team Lamborghini by Brasser Racing Team, for the Lamborghini of Jordan Pepper that you are currently looking at, and his teammate now in his third season. And of course, won a race here at Oschersleben last year. Luca Engstler is out there in the number 19 version of the car, which is more white on the car for Luca Engstler. He's still got the Liqui Moly sponsorship, which of course he's had for many, many years. Luca Engstler, son of Franz Engstler, former DTM star, and Jordan Pepper goes straight to second place. How about that? Did you miss me? I'm back, he says.
Problems? What problems?
Yeah, great lap from Jordan Pepper. It shouldn't be a surprise as we see his teammate Luca Engstler going for it now, because, as I say, the pair of them were third and fourth quickest here at the test at the start of the month. Luca Engstler is now pushing to try and get himself somewhere into that top 10 if he can. I think he's been far away, is he, with this lap as he goes through to the final corner. He wants to get into the 123s ideally, if he can, to get into the top 10. He's not far away. 123.4, 15th place.
We mentioned Rookie of the Year just now, and just some information just in, actually. That is that Ben Durr, at the request and has been decided by the GT committee, that he is also able to be included in the DTM Rookie of the Year rankings for 2025. So although we did see Ben Durr last year, he's one of the younger drivers, so he will also be part of the Rookie of the Year Championship this year. By
the way, if you get a chance, check out Ben Durr's social media posts. He's very good at it, very creative with his social media posts. There's some excellent ideas that he has on there, and yeah, he'll look to take the learnings of 2024, as will the team, and really push forward this year with the help of the hugely experienced Timo Glock. Right, Jordan Pepper's done the absolute best middle sector. He's trying to get ahead of Thomas Preining. Can he find 0.2 of a second? Not quite nearly, though. Only 44 thousandths of a second away from Tommy Preining's fastest time of the session. So Pepper with two really good laps there. That one puts him within a whisker of topping the times in the first official session of the season. And yeah, Brian, it's only free practice, and we don't know what they're running in terms of tyres and how old each of their tyres are, and what fuel loads they're running, and what setups they're trying, and whether they're trying for longer runs. But you cannot tell me that there's not a racing driver out there that won't be looking at the timing screens and paying attention to it, and would quite like to be at the top of the timing screens, even though it's only free practice.
And when you look at the top 18, it's separated by that is just 1 second, you realise how close this is going to be. And you think, wow, it is the small fractions that are going to make the difference. And 0.044 between first and second, Thomas Preining and Jordan Pepper. But yes, I can confirm it is going to be a seriously close season this year.
It shows that you can't ever really tell too much from testing, doesn't it? Because a few weeks ago here, 1 second covered the top 11, and now 1 second covers the top 17, so 3/4 of the field. And we had half a second covering the top 4. And here we've only got 3/10 covering the top 4, so getting closer and closer. It'll get even closer when we get to qualifying. Good to see Luca Engstler back doing what he does best. He had a horrific accident at Macau during the first qualifying session there. He hadn't had much time to learn the track because the weather was very mixed at Macau in November. Lots of big, heavy rain bursts, and on a dry track, having not really had much dry running. In fact, might not have had any dry running until they got to qualifying off memory. and at the Mandarin curve, which is flat out, hugely quick corner, he had a massive off. And if you have an off at Macau, there ain't no gravel traps or grass. There's just a wall to hit, and he had a huge hit. Unfortunately, that was him out for the weekend. He got taken to hospital. He was actually briefly in a wheelchair as well, but he did make it back to Macau on the main race day. He was on the grid and even did some grid interviews, but it really knocked him around. And he said even, you know, a matter of a month ago or so, like a few months after the accident, he's still feeling the effects of that. So great to see Luca back. He's one of the nicest blokes you could meet in the paddock, isn't he, Luca Engsler? And he's a blooming good racing driver as well. And he's got 7th quickest with that lap, 1:23.1.
And he's also a very hard worker. He's not one to just get out of the car and walk away from it. A real hands-on driver, getting involved not only with this team, but also with the Engsler team that field cars in GT Masters and the likes. So yes, just reward 7th place in the first practice session as we now approach the last 5 seconds and counting of this, the opening free practice session of the year.
Yeah, and we're looking at the 2 Mustangs as the checkered flag has now fallen on this first practice session. We've ended up with basically an extra half an hour in this session because that big delay we had when the oil was dropped on the, particularly on turn 2. So, yeah, more for your money already in free practice. So it is the flag falling. It doesn't look like anybody is going to top the time of Thomas Preining. So it is the 2023 champion that will end the first competitive session at the top of the times with a 1:22.596, but only 44 thousandths of a second between him and the TGI Grasser Racing Lamborghini of Jordan Pepper, who's about to start his first full season in the championship, even though Jordan only did 11 laps and only really about 7 of those were full-on laps. So it's a very good effort from Jordan. Ayden Nguyen is going to end up 3rd in the session with Jules Gunon, Mirko Bortolotti and Maro Engel in the top 6 as well. Ricardo Fella would be fairly satisfied, I think. 12, he's in the top 10 for a long time. He's ended up in 12th place. But, you know, a 1/10 of a second quicker and he'd be in the top 7 or 8. So it's very close. He ends up just outside the top 10 in 12th place, unless he improves on this very final lap, which he's trying to do, but he hasn't done any green sector times. So it looks like he'll end up bang in the middle of the pack, really, in 12th place. And there is the driver that has set the early benchmark, Thomas Preining. And remember, in his championship-winning season, he nearly won a race, and he had to go through that penalty box, didn't he? Because the team had an error. They put down, lost what's called losing control of a wheel in the pit lane when you don't have full control of the wheel, and you get to run through the penalty box, joy of joy, and you have to go through that at low speed, and it cost you about 5 seconds, and it cost him a win, didn't it, that day? He ended up 3rd, but he was hugely frustrated. So we know that he can win around here. He's got the qualifying lap record around here, and Thomas Preining has started the weekend as the fastest man out there, Brian.
Yes, starting as he means to go on, and I love the fact they even practice going through the penalty box, even if they hope that they'll never have to do it. But you've got to nail, it's a 50-metre box, you've got to pass through it at no more than 50 kilometres an hour. So you've got to nail when you hit the brake and when you hit the accelerator again, because if you get it wrong, you're just going to have to do it again on the next lap. So they've got to even practice the bad stuff.
Yeah, exactly right. Interesting to see, isn't it? All the detail that they put into it. Everything is, you know, practice is not just about setting quick lap times. It's about working on your setup. There'll be some practice pit stops we see during the free practice sessions as well. Looking at running through the penalty box, working out where track limits are. There's a lot going on, and a very useful session that for these drivers at the start of the season. The next free practice session due to get underway here at 3:40 local, sorry, 3:40 local time.
Yes.
At the moment, it's just coming up to 12:30 local time. We'll be on air 5 minutes before the session gets underway at 3:35 as well. From wherever you're joining us and watching online, you'll be able to follow free practice 2 in a few hours' time as well. But there's confirmation that Thomas Preining starts the weekend as he very much means to go on. Top of the timesheets, 1:22.596 seconds for the Austrian, 44 thousandths behind him, though. A great start for Jordan Pepper, the South African in the Grasser Lamborghini. Ayden Nguyen, teammate to Thomas Preining, 3rd. Jules Gunon, Mirko Bortolotti, Maro Engel in the top 6. Engsler, Vermeulen, Auer and Schuring all all off to good starts in the top 10 as well. Tom Callender, impressive in 11th. Ricardo fell at 12th. Bender, good effort in the McLaren for 13th. Out of Max Powell, Ben Green in 15th. And then Jack Aitken was 16th. Nicky Tim, Arjun Maini, René Rast and Timo Glock rounded out the top 20 with Marco Wittmann back in 21st. Gilles Magnus, Fabio Scherer and Nicola Bart rounding out the 24 runners that we saw in that first session. So a cool overcast day, but the action has already hotted up here. Some super slow-mos of a driver that for much of the session topped the times. He ended up third, but a great start to the 2025 campaign for Anjan Nguyen. Of course, you've got to do it all when it really counts tomorrow in qualifying and in the race, but no doubt about it, the Porsches are looking in good nick here. Jordan Pepper, despite a lack of running for much of the session, went out late and nearly got to the top of the times, but it was one of our champions, Thomas Preining, the 2023 DTM champion, who set the benchmark time with that 1:22.596. You're right on board with Thomas now. Wisely, an onboard camera has gone on in this weekend because you know he's always going to be there or thereabouts. He's got this incredible record of having finished every race in the points for the last 2 seasons as well. It's a record in the DTM, 32 races on the trot in the points. So even when he can't win a race, he can still score good points, and that is going to be crucial this year. You follow on board with him now at the start of the lap, on board. Everything always looks so smooth with Thomas Preining, doesn't it? He just attacks the corners, gets on the curbs. There's the penalty box to the left that he'll be hoping to avoid. And then into the turn 4 and 5, this double left-hander, about 170 kilometres an hour still, 4th gear through here, exit to turn 5, a little left kink, and still 4th gear through turn 6, and then a right-hander down to 2nd gear through turn 7, 90 kilometres an hour. The chicane next, hold your breath, hold on, through there they go, attacking the curves, 4th gear, over 180 kilometres an hour, and then at the turn onto the back straight, it'll be up to about 230 kilometres an hour now. 5th gear through the sector line into the final sector. S-bend section now through the right at 11, the left at 12, up to 140 kilometres an hour. 3rd gear, 4th gear, 190 kilometres an hour, and then into turn 13, 155 on the exit, drag it across to the left, onto the right through the final turn at turn 14, the Zeppelin cat curver, over 100 kilometres an hour on the exit to that corner, sprint for the line, and that is the fastest lap of free practice 1 as you rode on board with Thomas Preining. So that rounds out our coverage of the first free practice session. Brian Oliver and myself, Chris Hartley, will join you again in a few hours' time for free practice 2. Thanks for watching.